How's it going? My name is Reese Ward. I am the contractor assigned to claim number 1187L410X. The insured's name is Kimmy Chung. She lives at 109 Sycamore Drive, Carrollton, Georgia. I am a contractor for Top Guard Exteriors, and we got the engineer report back from State Farm about a week ago. And State Farm is still standing strong on their decision regarding the roof. So I just wanted to take this video and kind of go over some areas of concern regarding the engineer's report. So I'm just going to be reading from the report as well as my notes. So let's go ahead and start. Before we begin, I do want to make something clear. It will be a longer video, but every minute of it matters. What I'm about to show you directly challenges the accuracy of the engineer's report State Farm relied on to deny this claim. So, I strongly encourage you to watch all of the way through and give it your full attention, because what you're about to hear are substantial errors, contradictions, and unsupported conclusions within the engineer's report. Alright, first off, engineer's finding. He wrote, "At your request, a visit was made to the above referred site on October 13, 2025. The purpose of the visit was to determine the cause and origin of claimed wind and hail damage to the roof that allegedly occurred on June 27, 2025. Let's stop there. The damage did not occur on June 27, 2025. That is why the homeowner filed the claim as a date of discovery. The review included the roof, exterior, attic, and 2 interior rooms where the insured claimed a history of leaks. The review consisted of visual observations only and did not involve any design, analysis, or testing of materials. Severely loose granules and moss/algae growth restricted safe access to the steeper areas of the roof." So let me start out by pointing something out that the engineer mentions right away in that statement, that he could not safely access the steep slopes because of loose granules and algae. This is important for multiple reasons. He did not inspect the entire roof. If areas were unsafe to access, that means portions of the roof were never examined up close, yet the engineer still made definitive statements as if he inspected the entire thing. Also, wind uplift is strongest on steep slopes and high pitches. So right away, we have our first major problem with the report. He admitted that the roof was unsafe to inspect, but still claimed to know approximately how many shingles were creased and what caused the damage. The most important thing about this, though, is that the statement is simply not true. Only one north-facing slope of the home had algae growth worth noting, but not for safety issues. Moreover, there is no severe granule loss on the roof worth noting as a safety issue either. A shingle thickness test was never conducted. Moreover, the only 2 slopes of the home that had any bit of granule loss were the lowest pitch slopes on the entire dwelling. This is common. Also, the engineer mentions that the purpose of his visit was to determine the damages that allegedly occurred on June 27, 2025. The damages did not occur on that date, and that is why the homeowner filed as a date of discovery. All right, so the engineer required contractors on site to help assist him with roof access and climbing. Let me point something out that he said to me, though, in person on the day of the meeting. He said he has contractors climb roofs with him because big roofs intimidate him. So considering all of this information, did he deem certain areas of the roof not accessible due to algae growth and severe granule loss, or simply because big roofs intimidate him and it was beneficial for him to paint the picture the way he did? If the engineer needed help from contractors just to get onto portions of the roof, that already tells us that even with assistance, he avoided steep slopes entirely. His crease counts and observations are incomplete. Areas with confirmed wind damage may have never been viewed. If it reinforces the fact that his inspection was restricted and cannot be relied upon. If the roof is too dangerous for an engineer to climb, it is also too dangerous for him to accurately claim there was only minor damage. Back to the engineer report. He says that there appears to be sporadic creasing of shingle tabs on all roof facets. Granule loss and weathering granular loss and weathering were marked. No hail impacts observed. 2 shingles appeared recently replaced by a repairability test done by me. So the engineer states that the creasing is sporadic, but that's not what a full inspection shows. The engineer claims around 20 creased shingles. That's not accurate. A full inspection, including the areas he avoided, results in 50 plus creased shingles, not 20. It is misleading that in the same email State Farm sent the engineer report to the homeowner, State Farm also attached a repair estimate for 51 shingles to be replaced. Also, the word sporadic is misleading. The creases occur primarily on east and west slopes, ridgeline transitions, areas with the strongest wind exposure, and that's a pattern. A pattern's evidence. Okay, back to another thing that he mentioned within his engineer report. He said that approximately 20 creased shingles or missing broken tabs were observed. These were primarily on east and west slopes near ridges, limited to smaller shingle tabs. So, he admits that the access was restricted, but still gave an approximate number. If you can't reach or inspect a slope, you cannot conclude how many shingles are creased, whether the creasing is isolated or widespread. A proper inspection shows double or triple this number. When all slopes are evaluated, including the steep ones, it becomes clear that the engineer undercounted by more than half, and that undermines the entire report. All right, we have another engineer finding. He said that sporadic mastic failure was observed on approximately 5% of the shingles tested. The mastic is designed to hold shingles during moderate wind. This failure contributed to creasing. This is where the report leans heavily towards State Farm. The engineer wants to blame mastic failure instead of wind, and here's why that's a problem. The mastic failure caused creasing argument is just flat out false and misleading. Mastic is not the primary thing that holds shingles down. Holds shingles down. Nails hold shingles to the decking. Mastic is just a secondary seal. Even brand new shingles can be lifted in a lift test if you pry with your fingers, or if it's cold outside, any shingle can lift. On the day of the engineer meeting, I know I was wearing a jacket. Let's see, where are we? The engineer did not document roof temperature, ambient temperature, shingle pliability, or UV exposure. Without these, you cannot blame mastic. Mastic isn't what keeps shingles down, nails do. Wind pressure lifts the shingles from underneath and bends it. The engineer didn't record the temperature, didn't check pliability, didn't analyze nail placement, and didn't test anything that would prove a mastic failure. He's guessing, and he's guessing in a way that benefits the insurance company. Blaming mastic failure shifts the cause of the damage away from wind and into categories that insurance companies don't cover. If the engineer calls this, quote, mastic deterioration or, quote, adhesive breakdown, the insurer can classify it as wear and tear, aging, or manufacturer defects, all of which are exclusions under a standard homeowner's policy. But wind uplift is a covered peril. So by attributing the creasing to mastic instead of wind, the engineer hands the insurance company a basis for denial. To insurance, mastic means wear and tear means exclusion, manufacturer defect means exclusion, age deterioration means exclusion. So this one claim lets State Farm deny the entire roof. But it's not supported by testing because no accurate testing was done. All right, another thing that he mentioned within his engineer report. He said, the attached wind verification report shows 53 wind events of 40 miles per hour or greater since 2015. Notably, there were 15 recent wind events since June 2023 with wind speeds of 60 to 65 miles an hour. However, the report indicates no wind event above 40 miles per hour on the reported date of loss, 6/27 of 2025. Again, it's not a date of loss. All right, here we go. This section of the engineer report actually helps the claim but the engineer tries to spin it. The quote, no wind on the date of loss argument is false and irrelevant. Wind damage does not have to occur on a single date. Roofs don't crease only on the day that the homeowner notices it. Again, this is why the insured filed the claim as a date of discovery. That means that State Farm must consider all storm activity within the previous 2 years, not just one day. The engineer admits that there were 15 wind events strong enough to cause creasing. He literally wrote, quote, the conditions likely developed during the 15 recent instances with wind speeds exceeding 60 miles per hour. Those are 15 separate covered wind perils. But here's the biggest thing the engineer leaves out. There were 4 extremely high wind gusts recorded at the property. On 12/7 of 2023, we had 112 mile-an-hour winds. On 12/8 of 2023, we had another 112 mile-an-hour wind. On 10/7 of 2024, we had another 112 mile-an-hour wind. On 10/9 of 2024, we had yet another 112 mile-an-hour wind recorded. These are not 60 mile-an-hour wind events. These are hurricane-force gusts, and they absolutely can crease shingles. The engineer is contradicting himself. He says no wind above 40 miles per hour on the date of loss, but he also says shingles were creased by 60 to 65 mile-an-hour winds. Let's get to the next portion of his engineer report. He says that, quote, it is in our opinion that the creased shingles resulted from wind uplift forces during moderate wind events. The shingle mastic is typically designed to resist winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. Given the shingles are less than 20 years old, mastic failure may be due to age or manufacturing defect. Approximately 5% of tabs lifted easily. He didn't inspect 5% of the tabs on the roof. In absence of wind greater than 70 miles per hour, mastic deterioration or defect contributed to creasing. Creasing was unique to smaller tabs. So, in that, he says wind caused the creasing, but then he says that mastic failure caused the creasing. He claims winds never exceeded 70 miles an hour, but at this address, winds hit 112 miles per hour on 4 separate dates. That's nearly double the threshold that he claims would be necessary. He blames mastic failure without any accurate testing. He simply guessed. His claim, shift the blame to age, or to improper installation, or to the manufacturer. His conclusions is based on the wrong assumption. He assumes if wind didn't exceed 70 miles per hour, mastic had to be defective, and therefore that's why shingles creased from wind. But we know winds did exceed 70 miles per hour. 4 separate storms hit 112 miles per hour. He simply didn't list the right weathering data. We have another thing that he mentioned within his engineer report. He said that roof shingles exhibit widespread granule loss on all roof facets. Granules were easily removed by lightly touching the surface. This condition was a hazard for walking on the steeper roof slopes. Intermittent areas of weathering and abrasion with exposure of the fiberglass basement reinforcement were also typically observed. This section of the engineer's report is again simply not true. Granules are not easily removed by lightly touching the surface of the roof, and the only areas of the roof where exposed fiberglass is present is on low-pitched slopes, which are the same and only areas that are experiencing granule loss. Please consider that this roof is under 20 years old with a 30-year shingle on the roof. Let's go back to another section of the engineer report. He said 2 repairability tests were reportedly performed by the roofing contractor. That would be me. We did not observe these tests. If he did not observe the tests, he can't comment on repairability. The engineer does not mention whether the shingles tore during repair, whether the surrounding shingles were damaged. He simply looked at the areas that made no measurements. He simply looked at the area and made no measurement. A typical conditions photo from far away does not establish repairability. As you can see, the photo that he put in his report of my repair is from afar. He is on a totally separate slope, separate section of the roof when he took that photo. So therefore, that photo does not, show the true damages that were caused by replacing a shingle. Okay, repairability is a functional test, not a visual guess. All right, we're going to go back to another section. He says interior moisture standing at 2 areas appears to be related to the roof pitch and chimney flashing and gutter/roof interface, along with age-based deterioration of flashing. The water infiltration is not related to wind, hail, or any other peril. The quote, flashing caused leaks claim is unsupported. He did not use a moisture meter. He did not use infrared scanning. He did not run a hose test. He did not check for wind-driven water paths or shingle uplift near the leak locations. I believe he blamed flashing because it shifts the cause to, quote, maintenance, and maintenance is excluded. Exclusion equals denial. If wind created openings or lift tabs, water could not enter. Okay, hold on. Let me get to... so this section of his report, he talks about how the chimney, the flashing around the chimney caused the damage, the interior water leakage. So I want you to see, if you go back to the engineer's report, there is not one photo of the chimney, and it's because he did not view it. He didn't go to the slope where the chimney was because it was hard to access. You would have had to have had a really tall ladder to get up to the gutter line and then get onto the roof from there, or you would have had to have jumped from one slope to another with the ground below you. So he did not view that section of the roof whatsoever. He did not view the chimney. He did not view the flashing. All right, another thing he mentioned within his report. No functional hail damage observed. Creasing resulted from moderate wind events combined with mastic deterioration or defect. Granule loss is due to weathering. Roof leaks are unrelated to wind or hail. The engineer saying that, quote, creasing resulted from moderate wind events and mastic failure is simply not true. He mentions, quote, 15 events with winds of 60 to 65 miles per hour while ignoring 4 112 mile an hour gust events that occurred at the property, which is enough to crease shingles, even with perfect mastic. The roof is under 20 years old. Nothing about this roof is weathered. Architectural shingles have a 30-year life expectancy. He even admits that the shingles are less than 20 years old. His age argument contradicts the product's lifespan. So he has blame the mastic, blame the age, blame granule loss, claim no storm on date of loss, acknowledge storms but then call them irrelevant, blame flashing for leaks, of which he did not provide any photos of flashing from the chimney or really anywhere else on the roof. So the engineer did not inspect the roof, the entire roof, but drew full roof conclusions. He admitted that loose granules and moss/algae caused unsafe footing, which restricted access to steep slopes. Yet he still made definitive statements about the entire roof. The crease count is dramatically underreported. The engineer says, quote, approximately 20 crease shingles, but the actual number is over 50. The undercount alone destroys the accuracy of the report. He wants to blame mastic failure, age, defects, granular loss, and flashing, but he never evaluated temperature, shingle thickness, age, defects, or water leak injuries. The wind narrative contradicts itself. The engineer says no wind above 40 miles an hour on the date of loss, but also says the creasing likely occurred during 15 wind events of 60 to 65 miles an hour, while ignoring 112 mile an hour gusts on 4 separate dates. This is a major contradiction and directly undermines his conclusions. Flashing was blamed without any testing. To blame flashing, you must honestly go to the slope where the flashing is, but also you must remove shingles. You must check the flashing. You must run moisture tests. You must run thermal imaging, and you must identify relevant entry points. He didn't do any of those. The age argument contradicts the product's lifespan. He repeatedly blames age deterioration, roof wear, life cycle exhaustion, but also admits that the roof is less than 20 years old on a 30-year shingle product. You cannot call a roof, quote, aged out at 18 years when the manufacturer rates it for 30 years. We see a pattern here, guys. Blame mastic, blame installation, blame age, call granule loss severe, say no storm on date of loss, acknowledge storms but call them irrelevant, blame flashing. My final opinion, based on a complete inspection of the property, including the areas the engineer was unable to access, not due to severe granule loss or steep slopes, but because he was scared to climb the roof, and somewhat explains why he hired contractors to help him climb the roof, the damage on the roof is consistent with storm-related wind uplift, not age, granule loss, mastic failure, or defects. Here's why. There are over 50 creased shingles, not 20. This level of damage cannot be attributed to light aging or weathering. The creasing is located on directional slopes and ridge lines, classic wind damage zones. The property experienced significant storm activity within the 2 years of the discovery period. 60 to 65 mile an hour winds 15 times, a 71 mile an hour wind gust, and 4 112 mile an hour wind gust events. These are more than enough to create creasing, uplift, granule displacement, shingle flex, and interior leaks. Shingles are still well within their life expectancy. Here's my final closing argument. After reviewing the engineer's report in full and comparing it to the actual conditions on this roof, it is clear that the report underestimates the damage, misattributes the cause, and overlooks important storm events that absolutely could and did create the creasing and uplift we observe. The engineer claims he avoided steep slopes due to algae and granular loss, yet still made full roof conclusions. He blamed mastic without accurately testing it. He blamed age, even though the shingles are well within their design life. He said the granules come off with a simple swipe, which is simply not true. He blamed chimney flashing and gutter placement for leaks, which is, again, not true and wasn't observed. He says no wind occurred on the date of loss, but also says the roof was damaged by 15 wind events strong enough to create creased shingles, and then ignores 4 separate wind gusts recorded at 112 miles an hour at the insured's property. Every major conclusion in the engineer's report is either unsupported or contradicted by his own statements, by the actual weather data for this property, and by current true conditions of this roof. The observed damage is fully consistent with wind-related uplift resulting from multiple storms within the 2-year discovery period. The engineer's report does not provide a reliable basis to deny this claim. That is all I have. I hope that you view this video and actually listen to it carefully. I believe that I have some very strong, relevant points. So I will be sending this video in here soon to you guys. Again, thank you so much for your time. I know it was a bit of a longer video, so again, I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. The only algae on this roof worth noting is this slope right here. Again, easily accessible. I'm gonna show another area of, this is the algae, you know. Got another one. This is the algae. Can walk right up this. all the way to the top. No Ridge Pro. I'm standing on a 10 pitch front slope of the roof, holding on to nothing. Not much severe granule loss on the front slope of the roof. Let's check out the back. Also 10 pitch as well. Not much granule loss. Slope down there. Easy to walk on. Slope right there, easy to walk on. No area of this roof has enough granule loss on it for it to be a safety concern to inspect it. Front slope of the home, no severe granule loss. The only areas of granule loss on this roof are really in the valleys. Only the ones worth noting. As you can see, not much granule loss at all on this front slope. This is the back slope of the home. As you can see, no granule loss, maybe a little bit in the valleys where rainfall occurs, but overall this roof is safe to climb. Not much granule loss really anywhere. Again, this is the back slope of the home. Granule loss swipe test number 1. Granule loss swipe test number 2. Another slope of the roof. Where's the granule loss at? Algae in one area of the roof. This is the north slope, so it doesn't really matter. The only area of the roof that actually has granule loss on it that's worth noting is this front slope. It is a very low pitch. It's the lowest pitch on the home, as well as maybe some of your valleys might have a little bit, but I mean overall this roof has their granules. There's not a granule off of that shingle. Again, up close. And another slope of the home. No severe granule loss on it. Here is an area, one of the only 2 areas on the home that have severe granule losses on this pitch right here, as well as this area right here. This could just be from foot traffic when they actually built the roof, that or rain. And then the only other spot with granule loss worth noting is just this one area. The rest of the roof, totally fine with granules. As you can see, again, another slope, no granule loss. Again, another slope, no granule loss. All right, let's go to this side of the hip. Okay, let's go up here. Not seeing severe granule loss really anywhere on this roof other than the areas that I've already pointed out. Let's check out the other side. This is an area of the roof that the engineer damaged by accident while climbing the roof. This was not accounted for before he showed up. So I just wanted to point this out as well. This was damaged by the engineer. mastic test with my hand. Mastic test on the tab. This tab is not even going to come up. I can try to use my tool. Yeah, this is, I mean, it's on the roof. There is no way that this tab is going to fail a mastic test. I can't even get it through. I mean, I'm sure I'm already transferring the shingle just by trying to get this tab off. I'll keep working on it. There's absolutely no way that this roof failed a mastic test. I mean, as you can see, I can't even get, look at that. As you can see, the transfer that occurred, let me try and zoom in a bit. Just trying to get that tab off. Also, the whole entire shingle itself was obviously sealed, as you can hear by the sound of the adhesive breaking away from the shingle below. So right there, this goes to show you that the mastic on the roof is not an issue. Again, I still can't even get this shingle off because it is still so sealed down to the roof. Again, quite a bit of transfer just from that test. I will be repairing this, of course, replacing this shingle, so no worries there. All right, mastic test 2 without my hand. Wow, they're brittle. I'm telling you, they're very brittle. All right, now let's do a mastic test on the shingle, or excuse me, on the tab. It is so intact to the roof. I'm not even going to try and damage this shingle. I mean, I can barely. We're gonna have more mat transfer on this as well. Again, this is, I mean, there's no prying this thing. Let's see what it already caused. A little bit of mat transfer. So yeah, this is mastic test number 2 on an opposite slope as the first one. Again, the adhesive is totally doing its job. Let's mastic test number 3, a totally opposite slope to the ones that I've completed them on so far. Here's the end of this shingle. Look, still intact on this side. Still intact over here. I mean, I don't get it. These tabs, again, there's just no way they're coming up. They're not loose. They haven't lost any of their trying to peel that up. Look at what it's causing. It's not coming up off this shingle. Let's try another one. I know you hear the adhesive breaking. I'm pulling pretty hard to make that happen. All right, we're gonna perform one more mastic test just for good measure. I'm gonna start at the end of this shingle. stuck. That's probably gonna transfer. Again, as you can see, totally stuck down to the roof. Needed lots of force to get that up. Let's see this tab right here. It's brittle. And it's transferring. Fully intact shingles. Okay, so this is the gutter that the engineer deemed part of the leak within the homeowner's house. He examined it from this ridge right here. He never actually went down and inspected it, and from his angle there, it looks like the gutter is butting up against the home, but it's actually just the gutter guard. The gutter itself is not butted up against the shingle, only the gutter guards are. One other thing I would like to point out is this chimney was labeled as the reasoning, the flashing on the chimney was labeled as the reasoning for one of the leaks on the interior of the home. I would request the engineer to send any footage or photos that they may have of the chimney. The reason I say that is because he has none. He did not access this slope of the roof, but somehow still made a decision on the flashing being an issue, and that is why the homeowner is experiencing leaks in the home. If I were to guess, I would probably say that it's all of the Windcrease shingles on the roof. Some of them can be the main contributing factor to the reason of the homeowner experiencing leaks on the inside of the home, but no photos were taken of the flashing here by the engineer. Matter of fact, he didn't go past this point. He did not access any area of this roof.